Hello and welcome to 2025. Today I've selected a bunch of albums that turn 50. They may not be the best albums from that year. It all comes down to your preferences, some tastes, genres you like. But they're all masterpieces. You probably got a copy of them all, or several copies of them all. I won't focus so much on the music because it's very well known. Instead, I best focus on the pressings I've got to help you find decent pressings for not much money, in case you consider buying them. This is the first one. Jethro Tull Minstrel in the Gallery. It's got the funny flip, right, like this. Jethro Tull's breakthrough albums, Aqualung and Figures of Brig, made them immensely popular both sides of the pond. But then a passion play was a bit controversial, and there were heated discussions between critics, journalists, and Ian Anderson himself, and the band started falling from favor, so to speak. After a passion play, War Child was not successful at all. Right, a list over here. And the next album, Mystery of the Gallery, which I think it improves on War Child, didn't sell as much as the previous efforts. The good thing about these mid 70s Jethro Tull albums is that they sound really good. Unlike the previous albums from the late 60s, early 70s that are absolutely musical masterpieces, but the sound is at least questionable. This sounds very good. This is a UK first pressing. I've heard the US first pressing. It sounds just as good. It's on the Chrysalis label, on the Chrysalis Green label, right? And later on in the year, it would turn to blue and white. I think Heavy Horses was the first one to be released on blue and white labels. Right, Mr. Rod Stewart, Atlantic Crossing. Uh, Rod Stewart is a crooner nowadays. It's one of the most famous British singers, but this album represents a turning point in his career. Rod Stewart started, as you all know, with the band The Faces, with Ron Wood, and his first albums were mainly rock blues based. Right? After Atlantic Crossing, I think that his music became more commercial. I'm not saying worse, but he started balladeering and writing catchy songs that make him worldwide famous. Uh, Atlantic Crossing has great songs. We all know Sailing, All Right for an Hour, Drift Away. I don't want to talk about it. And the good thing about these copies, these mid 70s copies, is that they're not expensive at all. Right? You can find them for very little money. This is mint, and I think I paid sort of like 5 or 10 for it. Right? The UK sound great, the European first pressing sound great, the US pressing sound great. So it'd be good for you to listen to Rod Stewart in his early days and the great musicians he used to have around. Next one, Mr. Elton John. Who doesn't like these albums? Captain Fantastic. Now they don't do covers like they did back in the day, right? This is a gatefold, a fantastic gatefold. The cover art is just amazing, and it includes not one but two booklets. Right, hang on a minute. Right, and also a poster. Right, this one, which is difficult to find in great condition because people obviously used to hang it on the wall. Uh, the album is incredible. There are great songs here. It's a must if you like Elton John, and it's a must if you like pop and rock music from the 70s. It starts with an acoustic guitar. I wanted to show you the booklet. Here it is, right? Look at this booklet, right? Amazing. Look at the cover art, right? Two booklets, right? Comic strips, uh, unbelievable, right? Stories from back in the day, songs, lyrics, you name it. It's just absolutely great, absolutely great. You don't get that like this anymore. Uh, Mike Oldfield on Madonna. Mike Oldfield became hugely popular when he released Tubular Bells, to most people his best album. He played all the instruments there, and when he was a teenager, I think he was 17 or 18, and that made him incredibly popular all over the world. But my favorite is the 1975 On Madone. I like side one here more than I like side one from Tubular Bells. The crescendo here at the end of side A is absolutely fantastic, right? The good thing about this is that a first pressing, a UK first pressing of Tubular Bells is hard to come by in near mint condition, but not on Madone, right? On Madone is all over the place. This is a UK first pressing, and you shouldn't have to spend much to get one of these copies. Just my personal opinion, but if you haven't heard this one, give it a try. Now, what can I say about Mr. Bob Dylan that hasn't been said? Right? Some people prefer his acoustic period, prefer the mid 60s. Some other people despise his mid 70s productions, his late 70s productions when he became a Christian. It's all very controversial and really none of my business. I like his 60s production and I like his 70s production, starting with Blood on the Tracks. What a fantastic album. There are many different versions of these pressing. There are boutique label reissues. I think there are MoFis, MFSLs, SACDs, you name it. But if you just want a good sounding album for not much money, sorry about this. Get one of those nice price copies that were released in 1980, both in the UK and Europe. I'm not sure about the States. Uh, the American company CBS had many pressing plants all over Europe and the UK. Sometimes they even used the American stampers and what is called the Sunbeam or the Sunray label. Usually sounds fantastic. Not only for Bob Dylan, but just any item that belongs to CBS. Now, Supertramp. Some people prefer Crime of the Century. Others rave about Breakfast in America. Uh, I love Crisis What Crisis, and it came out in 1975. There are great, great songs here that I grew up with. Ain't Nobody But Me, Soapbox Opera, Another Man's Woman. This was recorded in Los Angeles, unlike his previous albums that were recorded in England. And it's very easy to find good sounding copies of Crisis What Crisis because Haarlem in the Netherlands have these small trumpet logo on the Renault grooves, and they use it. They also use it in the States. So if you find a copy with that trumpet logo on the Renault grooves, you're fine. You'll be okay, and the album will sound very good. Right? Learn it the hard way because I've got 3 copies here, and I've got more copies, and the German copy doesn't sound as good. Other copies I've got don't sound as good. Right, so look for the trumpet logo, and you'll be fine. Crisis, what crisis? Now, one of my favorite bands, The Who, right? This is the 1975 The Who by Numbers. Some people are not very fond of these albums, but I think it's got some great writing and some great playing from the four guys, right? Some songs like Squeeze Box, However Much I Booze, Dreaming from the Waste, How Many Friends, you play it all over again, right? This is a German pressing because I was advised by one of you subscribers, thank you very much, that it improves on the UK. I've got a UK copy as well, but when I play this one, I absolutely agree. And the good thing about this is going to cost you only half of the price, right? It's a German pressing, a German first pressing on Polydor, right? With a red label. Who doesn't like the Who? Now, Queen, A Night at the Opera. Bohemian Rhapsody was number one on the list on two different decades, right? It's an incredible deed. We're not gonna talk about how good Queen is or how great this album is. Right? We all know Bohemian Rhapsody, Love of My Life, Good Company, etc., etc. Right? Dead on Two Legs. The problem with this album is that it's a gatefold. It's white, and it's difficult to find a copy that is not yellowing, right? Or in near mint condition, like this one. This is in perfect condition. But this is not a UK pressing. This is a Swedish pressing. And if you follow my channel, I think I've dipped you into this one before. The Swedish pressing use the UK stampers, so you get the same sound. It is much easier to find a Swedish pressing in great condition and for a fraction of the price. Uh, Pink Floyd, Wish You Were Here, 1975. To some people, Pink Floyd's best album. To some people, the best album, the best rock album in the world. To some people, it's Dark Side of the Moon, or whatever. I'm not much of a Pink Floyd fan. I like several albums, mainly Metal, Animals, this one, and Dark Side of the Moon. But I bring this one here because this was really surprising, this copy, right? I bought it sealed uh, for not very much money, and seller told me it was a late 70s pressing, and he wasn't sure where it came from. But as I wanted to have the album, especially with the black envelope, the black cover, right? And as it was sealed, there are no ticks and pops, right? It sounds fantastic. I opened the album to find that the cover was printed in Holland, right? But the record was made in France. It's a pâté marconi. Excuse if mispronounced. It's got the typical "Wish You Were Here" label, and it was released in the late 70s. It's a M6309101 in case you're gonna browse through Discogs. It sounds so good that I've only got two copies of Wish We Were Here. Probably, I'm not sure, but probably the UK or the Nimbus beat it flat. But this sounds so good, and I spent so little money for it that I'm perfectly happy with it. And I'm not going to fork out somewhere in the region of hundreds, right, for a perfect UK copy. So if you're like me, just get one of these French and these French pressings, and you will thank me for it. And now to my American friends, my favorite 1975 album. No other than Steely Dan, right? Steely Dan is one of my favorite bands. It's in my top three. And the funny thing about it is that I didn't know Steely Dan in my teenage years. I met a guy who was a jazz fan that tipped me into the band, and he played me Asia and the Royal Scam, and I was hooked from the get go. I think that their lyrics are incredible. The music is so sophisticated, so good that it's hard to beat. Steely Dan. Now, some people nowadays call them yacht rock and slag them off in different ways. I'm sorry, guys, but you're wrong. Steely Dan is a fantastic band. Katie Lied, together with the Royal Scam, are my favorite albums. Um, I'm waiting for the acoustic productions release, 45 RPM, that is coming at the end of the month, I think. And I'm going to purchase a copy. I've saved some money over Christmas, and I'm gonna buy a copy because this is one of my favorite albums. And there were problems with the DBX here, with the recording. You can read online many the hassle they had to go through to get the recording right. Some people say it doesn't sound as good as the others. It might be true. To me, it sounds okay. I've got 3 pressings. 2 are American pressings, and the third one, it's a Spanish pressing, uh, which I lucked into not a long time ago. This is the New York. Here it is. Uh, I bought it mainly because it's a gatefold. Right? There's a story, the band's story in Spanish here, and I just bought it because of this, right? Because it was a gatefold and it was in mint condition. It's cut very loud. It sounds very loud. To me, strident in some places, but it makes for it makes for a nice plain copy, right? I'm not one for buying an album just for the cover, but in this case, it was great, right, to have these gatefold things, right? My other 2 pressings, as you can imagine, are Americans, right? But they don't sound the same, right? They are first pressings or second batch of first pressings, uh, not the ones with the black bricks, but the one with the yellow and orange, ABC Records label. One is from New York. It was pressed in New York, and the other one is from Richmond. They both sound very good, but I prefer, but not the same, right? I prefer the New York one. It has, it's more crunchy and it sounds more captivating, more compelling to me than the Richmond copy, which sounds really, really good as well. So up to you. I suppose you've all got a copy of Katie Lied. In case you don't, you can either wait for the acoustic sounds released, or these used to be very cheap back in the day, but now prices are through the roof. If you lack out into one of the American pressings, then don't hesitate. Others don't compare. Right? Well, and that's basically all. Thank you so very much for being back, and thanks for your time. Take care.